The letter arrived on a Tuesday, smelling of dust and old money. It was from a law firm I'd never heard of, regarding an aunt I'd met exactly once at a family funeral when I was 7. The only thing I remembered about her was that she wore a hat with a silk lily on it and pinched my cheek a little too hard. Apparently, she'd remembered me. The sum was ludicrous, life-altering, the kind of number you see in headlines about lottery winners, not in the quiet, beige-carpeted life of YN, freelance graphic designer and chronic overthinker. The first thing I did was vomit. The second thing I did was call my best friend Sophia, who screamed so loudly I'm sure the windows nearly cracked.
You're rich?
She shrieked.
Stupid crazy buy a private island rich.
I can't be, I whispered, my voice hoarse. It's a mistake. It has to be. But it wasn't. The lawyers, impeccably dressed and speaking in hushed, reverent tones, confirmed it all. There was one condition, a strange, paranoid clause my aunt had insisted upon. Absolute discretion for 1 year. No lavish purchases, no sudden lifestyle changes that would attract gold diggers and vultures, as her will so eloquently put it. It was a test, a trial period to see if the money would change me before I was truly allowed to have it. If I broke the clause, a significant portion would be diverted to a cat sanctuary in Busan. I like cats, but not that much. So, I signed the papers, deposited the first modest monthly allowance into my previously anemic checking account, and went home to my perfectly average apartment in my perfectly average building, a secret billionaire disguised in worn-out jeans and a sweater with a tiny hole in the... The weight of the secret was a physical thing, a constant hum in the back of my skull. I'd walk past a jewelry store and my fingers would twitch. I'd see a couple struggling with a heavy sofa and think, I could buy them a moving company. But I didn't. I kept my head down, my budget spreadsheet updated with fake, modest numbers, and my mouth shut. And then he moved in. The noise started on a Saturday morning, the grunts of heavy lifting, the scrape of furniture on hardwood, a low, melodic voice giving directions. Peeking through the peephole was a reflex, and then it became a necessity. He was beautiful. There's no other word for it. A tussle of dark hair fell over his forehead, and even from my distorted fisheye view, I could see the sharp line of his jaw, the corded muscle in his forearms as he manhandled a large box labeled kitchen. He wore a simple gray t-shirt that was dark with sweat, clinging to a frame that was both lean and powerful. He laughed at something one of the movers said, and the sound was warm, a little gummy, and it did something funny to my stomach. I spent the next week in a state of high alert, my ear constantly tuned to the hallway. I learned his schedule. He left for work, some kind of music production studio, I gathered from overheard phone calls, around 9. He came home around 7, sometimes with a grocery bag, sometimes with his hands shoved in his pockets, humming a tune. Our first real interaction was pure cliché. I was fumbling with my keys, my arms overloaded with mail and a grocery bag that was threatening to split. A carton of eggs teetered precariously on top. I knew I was doomed. The elevator dinged, and he stepped out. Our eyes met. His were a deep, warm brown, and they crinkled at the corners when he offered a small, hesitant smile.
Need a hand?
He asked, his voice softer than it had sounded through the door. I've got it, I said, a little too quickly, the secret making me bristle at any offer of help. As if accepting an act of kindness would somehow reveal me. The movement was my downfall. The bag slipped, and the egg carton catapulted toward the floor. He moved with a dancer's grace, swooping down and catching it just before it hit the ground. He straightened up, holding the eggs aloft with a triumphant, boyish grin that made my heart stutter.
Safe.
He said. I let out a breath I didn't know I'd been holding. Thank you. You have surprisingly good reflexes for a... I trailed off, realizing I didn't know what to call him.
Jungkook.
he supplied, setting the eggs gently on top of my mail.
Jungkook. And you're 3B.
YN, I said. And yes, 3B.
It's nice to officially meet you, YN from 3B.
He nodded toward my door.
Let me get that for you.
He took my keys from my trembling fingers. Why were they trembling? And unlocked my door, pushing it open. He didn't try to come in, just handed the keys back. A perfect gentleman. Thanks, Jungkook. From 4A.
Anytime.
He gave me that smile again before turning to his own door.
Try not to juggle the eggs next time.
I slid down the back of my door after I closed it, the cool wood against my back, my grocery bag cradled in my lap like a newborn. I was grinning like an idiot. That was the beginning. The hallway chats grew longer. He'd bump into me as I was leaving for coffee. I'd accidentally bake too many cookies and feel obligated to share. We existed in a delicious, tense bubble of possibility. He was funny, kind, and fiercely dedicated to his work. He talked about music with a passion that was intoxicating. I found myself telling him about my design work, my dreams of starting my own small studio one day. The old dream, the one from before the letter, the one that now felt quaint and achingly genuine. I was falling for him hard, and the secret began to feel less like a treasure and more like a lie. One evening, he invited me over for dinner. It was a simple pasta dish, but he made it with a focus that was adorable. Talked for hours on his sofa, which was surprisingly comfortable for something that looked like a hand-me-down.
Can I ask you something?
He said, his voice quiet. The only light came from a single lamp, painting his features in soft gold and shadow. Sure, I said, my heart hammering against my ribs.
I feel like there's something you're not telling me.
He looked genuinely concerned, not accusatory.
You get this look sometimes, like you're carrying the world on your shoulders. You can talk to me, you know? Whatever it is.
The words were right there, perched on my tongue. I'm rich. I'm so rich, and I'm not allowed to tell anyone, and it's because I think I could really like you. But the claws, the lawyers, the cats in Busan, they all screamed in my head. I chickened out. It's just work stress, I lied, forcing a smile. You know, freelancer anxiety. Feast or famine. He searched my eyes for a moment, and I saw a flicker of doubt, but he nodded, accepting it. He reached out and tucked a strand of hair behind my ear, his fingers brushing my cheek. The air left my lungs. His gaze dropped. The sound of a key in the lock was like a... We sprung apart as the door swung open. A woman stood there, stunning in a way that was sharp and intimidating. She had long, glossy black hair, a tailored coat, and a look of proprietorship on her face. Her eyes scanned the room, landing on me on the couch, then on Jungkook, who had shot to his feet.
Jungkook? I thought you said you were working late.
She said, her voice a cool, melodic thing that didn't match the ice in her eyes.
Lana,
He breathed, and the name was a bucket of cold water. Lana, the girlfriend. He'd mentioned her once, a fashion buyer who traveled constantly. He'd said it was complicated. I'd foolishly assumed that meant it was ending.
I finished early.
He said, running a hand through his hair.
Lana, this is my neighbor, YN. YN, this is Lana.
Lana offered me a smile that didn't reach her eyes.
A neighbor? How lovely.
She walked in, dropping her suitcase by the door and slipping her arm through Jungkook's, a clear claim staked.
I hope I'm not interrupting your pasta?
The tension was so thick you could carve it. I stood up, my face... Not at all. I was just leaving. Thank you for dinner, Jungkook. He looked torn, guilty, his eyes pleading with me.
YN, you don't have to.
I really do, I said, my voice thankfully steady. I grabbed my purse and all but fled to my apartment, the sound of their low, tense voices following me into the hallway. The next week was agony. I avoided him meticulously. I listened for his door and left 5 minutes later. I ignored the soft knocks on my door. I deleted his text messages unread. The hurt was a raw, open wound. I wasn't just the girl with a secret. I was the other woman, the naive neighbor he was amusing himself with while his beautiful, sophisticated girlfriend was out of town. The money felt like a... What was the point of it if I couldn't use it to escape this feeling? If I couldn't buy a different reality? The confrontation finally happened in the basement laundry room. I was staring blankly at the spinning drum of a dryer, lost in my miserable thoughts, when he walked in.
YN.
He said, his voice firm.
We need to talk. You can't just hide forever.
I didn't turn around. There's nothing to talk about, Jungkook. You have a girlfriend. It was a misunderstanding,
It wasn't.
he insisted, stepping closer.
Lana and I, we've been over for months. We just haven't made it official. She's been away, and it was easier to let it drift. Seeing her walk in, seeing you there, it made me realize I didn't want it to drift anymore. I ended it that night.
I finally turned to face him. He looked exhausted, earnest. Why should I believe you?
Because I'm crazy about you.
He said, the words simple and direct, knocking the air out of me.
I have been since you almost smashed a dozen eggs at my feet. I don't know what you're hiding, and I don't care. I just know I want to be someone you can tell, whatever it is.
The dam broke. The words tumbled out in a rushed, chaotic torrent. I told him about the aunt, the letter, the lawyers, the staggering amount of money, the stupid clause about the cats. I told him about the pressure, the isolation, the guilt of having so much when so many had so little. I told him everything, watching his face for the shift, the calculation, the greed I'd been warned about. He listened, his expression unreadable. When I finished, breathless and trembling, he was silent for a long moment.
So that's it.
He said finally.
That's the big secret.
I nodded, bracing for impact. A slow smile spread across his face, and then he started to laugh. It wasn't a cruel laugh, it was a laugh of pure, unadulterated relief.
All this time, I thought it was something terrible. I thought you were sick or in some kind of trouble. And it's just money.
Just money? I repeated, incredulous.
YN.
He said, stepping forward and cupping my face in his hands. His touch was electric.
I don't care about the money. I care about the woman who tried to carry too many groceries to seem independent. The woman who bakes cookies when she's nervous. The woman with a laugh that sounds like my favorite song. The money doesn't change any of that.
Tears welled in my eyes, hot and freeing. The claws,
We'll keep your secret.
he whispered, his thumb brushing away a tear that escaped.
We'll keep it together for a year, and then we'll figure it out. You can buy that cat sanctuary if you want.
He leaned in, and this time there was no interruption. Soft at first, a question. Then it deepened, full of a year's worth of pent-up hallway glances and stolen moments, full of a promise that had nothing to do with fortunes and everything to do with us. I back, the hum of the dryers, a chorus. I wasn't just YN, the secret heiress. I was YN, the woman Jungkook was crazy about. And for the first time since that letter arrived, that felt like the only identity that truly mattered. The fortune was a fact. But this was everything.